That's okay. Fly guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live. 5. EVOP Network Rumble X YouTube. Of course, we'll join the matter at KVT 1490 at the bottom of the hour. What a wild weekend. Houses exploding, cars crashing through houses, man shooting at robbers coming into his store. Trump says, free the files. We get into the revolutions going on down in Mexico, semi in Japan, and the de facto revolutions going on from coast to coast, from Seattle to New York City and all points in between. But the lead story of the day, dudes decided they were going to do a smash and grab break-in of a Merced jewelry store, and they wound up meeting the wrong end of a gun. Here is the ABC7 report. Here we go.
New video shows the moments a jewelry store robbery ended in a hail of gunfire. Multiple people entered the store last night on Country Club Drive near Cleveland Avenue in Madera. Police say the thieves wore all black clothing and masks and began breaking display counters. One store employee pushed a robber back over the counter, and then the store owner appeared with a gun. Shots were fired, and the suspects were seen running from the store. People at the shopping center say the crime has left them concerned.
It was scary because it was so loud. We didn't know what was going on. And even though it was, we were scared for them too, because, you never know. And like I said, we heard gunshots. So it was very scary for sure.
Police say the robbers got away with about $170,000 worth of merchandise. No one was injured.
No one was injured? Dude better go to the shooting range
when SoCal weather changes
and learn how to shoot. At that close range of not hitting anybody, there should have been a lot of dead dudes as close range as he was, especially him. And then going outside, I don't know how he didn't hit anyone on that, but again, maybe. And the bad thing is about not hitting any of them, they might be emboldened to do this again. Get to the shooting range and learn to hit your target. And I understand, when the adrenaline's pumping and all that, it's not as easy as it looks, let's put it that way. But we need people like that not to be doing that again. And one way assuring that is when they bust in to your business is that, well, we'll get to that more later. House explodes in Chino Hills. Wow. 8 people were injured, including children. ABC7 report on this. Here we go.
What caused a powerful explosion that leveled a Chino Hills home?
The blast sent at least 8 people to the hospital, some of them children.
Eyewitness News reporter Monica Diana live with the aftermath and what we're learning about the investigation. Monica.
John, Rachel, Antonieville, this all happened on Sierra Vista Drive, and I got to show you because among the 8 people injured were children, and we found right in front of us this teddy bear. You could just see, right? I mean, these are small kids who had to deal with this explosion, and if you look just behind me, this is the aftermath of what we're seeing now. That the sun is starting to come up this morning. The roof is caved in, and there's debris everywhere, and this all happened around 3:45 yesterday afternoon. The front of the home shattered to pieces with debris scattered everywhere. Our Tim Pulliam spoke to neighbors who tell us the explosion felt like an earthquake, with kids seen running from the blast.
They were just screaming for help, saying, ow, it hurts, help me, barefooted in their pajamas, the little boy without a shirt, just in his sweatpants. It was hard. Their hair was burnt. They had blood on their faces.
Witnesses say a neighbor drove some of the young burn victims to the hospital. Our camera captured crews digging around the property to determine what exactly happened. The explosion was so destructive that it damaged several nearby homes and forced over a dozen others to evacuate. Chino Valley Fire was here overnight while a gas company worked to secure a gas line and stop a leak before neighbors could return home. And we did see some of that work continuing out here this morning. Now, as far as what exactly led to this explosion, if it was caused by a gas leak or something else, that is still under investigation as we learn more about that and about the condition of those 8 people injured, at least 8, including those children.
Gas leak, or was the gas leak because the house exploded?
When
Because-
SoCal weather changes,
That's a Santa and a wind. They're gonna
because of, we shall find out. It'd be interesting to see what the results of the investigation into that scene come up with, but seems a little sus, as the kids say today. But we shall see. Oh, Donald J says, release the Epstein files. After all this time, 9,432 renditions. He should have done this 6 months ago. They're going to vote on it tomorrow. The Republicans are going to have been given permission by the MAGA chief to vote for releasing the Epstein files. So let's rock and roll. Transparency and accountability are just buzzwords unless you let us see the documents. I don't see what the big problem is on that. Glad they're coming out. I mean, let's get to the bottom of it, air it out. If there's pedos in there, which there seems to be lots of suggestions, evidence there is, put them in frickin' jail. Man, Marjorie Taylor Greene and that whole thing blowing up between Trump and him after Tom Massey and others. They need to be putting all this stuff back together. Musk needs to come back and start getting heavy on the Doge because we're going to be into the budget. When they come back after January 1st, they're going to be heavy into the budget. Let's get the cuts. Let's start balancing the budget. Let's start making America work for everyone. We need to stem this tide that's coming, and we'll deal with that here in a few. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. This one, Gen Z protests erupt in Mexico City over crime and corruption. Barricades breached at the presidential palace. Writes in the Daily Caller. There's a big phenomena going on here. And those under 40, Gen Z, millennials, or I'd say under 45, and I admit they got a raw deal. 1,437%. Raw deal. They've been lied to. They've been screwed around. They're, the whole thing. So, and they're looking at their future ain't crap. Not only in the United States, but Mexico, Japan, China, Russia, wherever, Venezuela. They're going, hey, we want this stuff fixed. And in Mexico City and across Mexico, as you're going to see, they were rioting in the streets out there, as you see the throngs of that getting tear gassed and such in some of the more tame video. Some of it was really getting violent out there in Mexico City. But the main thing is the Gen Zers and the millennials and those under 45, whether they're in the US, they don't care. They just want somebody in there to fix it. And I think that's why we're getting the Mondami. They got just a Democratic socialist elected for Seattle mayor. They went even farther left, if you can believe it, because they're just saying, I think 25 happened in Virginia too and New Jersey, and the young people in Prop 50, the young people are pissed off. And they just want it fixed. They don't care how it gets done. They just want it fixed. And you're going to get more of this. Meet the new socialist Danny-style mayor just elected to run the West Coast, fifth largest city. That's Seattle. They elected Scheinbaum down in Mexico of she's a Democratic socialist. She's from San Francisco, for crying out loud. And she gets elected president down there, and the cartels are running over her. And the people are saying, we're done with this. Japan said, hey, the hell, they're going like this. They want somebody to come in like Trump. So the Seattles and the New Yorks and the LAs haven't quite caught up to this. We'll get into this more in depth, hopefully a little bit, with some of the polling Mark Mitchell's done and some of the other articles going on. But there's a real phenomena going on, and if you don't catch the wave, if guys like Trump, and it's on both parties are doing this, the Republican and Democratic traditional parties have no clue. They're people are pissed off enormously at both of them. And the only reason they don't care. They'll flip election after election until this thing gets fixed or we crash the system or something. 4 illegal immigrants are dead in a capsized boat off of San Diego. Here is ABC7 report.
Then 5 others have been rescued after a panga boat capsized off Imperial Beach in the San Diego area. Rescuers with the U.S. Coast Guard and other federal and local agencies responded just before midnight. 4 of the people who were rescued were taken to a hospital and 1 transferred to Border Patrol. Some of the suspected migrants identified themselves as Mexican nationals. Tonight,
this is why we needed to stop
When SoCal
the illegal immigration. It's dangerous to come in like that. Not to mention the child trafficking, the labor trafficking, and all that, and the jobs. It's another thing they're pissed off about, the young people. And rightly so. Their jobs from one end to the other are going to people who've come a lot into this country illegally. Not only in the last 4 years, but even more of that. Dana the Hammer Williamson, we're getting more information leaking on this whole thing. It was brought out that, as Trump called the CNN chick, the nasty woman, seems like Dana Williamson, chief of staff for Gavin Newsom up until a couple months ago, was known as the real nasty woman by a lot of people. Hopefully, we'll see if we get John Copel from Hard Drivers Taxpayers Association. He was one of the latest that was doing it. After that reporter that turned government employee that we had on from CNN, he was the one that also said that. Now it's coming out. Her drinking, her belligerent, her hammer. If you don't agree with her, she's gonna put all stops into ruining you. She's, according to the reports coming out, employees that couldn't take it or quit. She said, if you say anything or you will not get a job, I'll make sure of it. That's why she was known as Dana the Hammer Williamson. There's Ashley Zavala with Steve Maviglio, a Democratic consultant in California who's worked with most of the bigwigs. Here we go.
Governor Gavin Newsom and his administration and his potential future campaigns.
Yeah, and I think that's the bigger question. I mean, most of the headlines weren't Dana Williamson, they were Governor Newsom's top aide. And, you know, he's been on the rise for the last few weeks and months, and I think this definitely slow his momentum. I think their natural pushback, and we've seen it, and I think might be some truth to it, is that this is the weaponization of the DOJ and FBI. This was a case that was started by the Biden administration. They must have had a reason to look into the Newsom administration, but then it was dormant. And then
does he know it was dormant? He finally had, they're finally admitting, yeah, the news, Gulag Gavin was under investigation by the Biden Justice Department We don't know. Is it the nonprofit thing? Is it the COVID con? Is it a combination? The 32 billion in unemployment fraud that he gave away as governor. Then new Carl DeMaz got the $3 billion they lost on the Greenie plan for the CalPERS retirement fund for the, California government workers are going to get hosed. And we, the taxpayer, are going to have to make that up because of the odious bill SB 399. But then they let it dormant, now it's coming back, and he goes on that same crap of, they're still running that tripe of, they arrested her and come in with guns blazing. No, it never happens. Christ. You never heard of Roger Stone and Rudy Giuliani and host of others that have been dragged out? Pastors were dragged out of their homes for political prosecutions. Give me that noise. Why don't you just admit drives you nuts sometimes? You remember that illegal immigrant who the judge decided she was going to escort out the door when ICE came a-looking for him? Well, he's been deported. It's been reported there on Fox News. Eduardo Ruiz, previously removed illegal alien, had a laundry list of violent criminal charges, including strangulation and suffocation, battery, domestic abuse. Judge Hannah Dugan's actions to obstruct the violent criminal's arrest to take the activist judge to a whole new meaning. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said. The judge is still being charged. She was arrested. Her trial's coming up for the obstruction of justice. Help this guy out. He was allegedly beating on his roommates. On top of that, they went in there to arrest him. This kook judge over here, and who knows what was going on with this whole deal. And when ICE comes, she deflects them and lets him sneak out the back door. Luckily, they found him a couple blocks down from the courthouse and rightfully so arrested her. And I hope she goes to jail for a long, long time. This stuff is not going to stop until people like this odious judge, Hannah Dugan, spends multiple years behind bars. It cracks me up about this whole in California. Oh, the rains. We were supposed to have gale force winds, 150 mile an hour. It's going to start on Thursday. Well, it didn't start till Friday. And then it just barely, it rained and sprinkled and light rain. Here in Moreno Valley, we got no heavy rain at all. Zero. No flooding, no Paris Boulevard covered in water like it usually does when it rains hard. Nothing. If you want to see real flooding, I wasn't here in the 38 floods, but I was here in the big 69 rains. Let me tell you, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights almost steadily, or it seemed like it. There's downtown Riverside, I believe. Some say it's on Limonite, but I think I'm more in agreement that was on Brockton there in River City on that. And here we have a picture of the wipeout of the Van Buren Bridge where it collapsed and was in the bottom of the Santa Ana River, and then the 60 freeway one. Remember when the water was coming over the 60 freeway bridge there in Rubidoux going across there? It was, you talk about, you don't know what rain is all about. 1000% you don't know what rain is all about. You see the 69 rains in California. Holy freaking cow. I kid you not. At the Santa Ana River, the water was going over the bridge at the 60 freeway. It did. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. I want to get more into this, the nuts and bolts of what's going on in our politics after the elections in November. Or, in New Jersey, Virginia, Seattle, New York. And what's going on down in Mexico? What happened in Japan? They went full on MAGA. Argentina went with Millie. Full libertarian MAGA, their country first. People want stuff fixed, especially the young people. They don't see a future. And again, I've said it breaks my heart that the generations coming up will not have the opportunity I had and my generation had. They don't see a future. They just see nothing but gloom, despair, and agony on me. Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports and Rich Barris from Big Data Poll for 2 years have been waving the flag. Even while Trump was running, Trump got elected, waving the flag. Hey, fix it. They want it fixed. And they'll just keep flipping people until they see it. Here's some of Mark's polling as he ran the other day on Rasmussen Report on those under 40. Here we go.
48% approve, 50% disapprove. So he's net -2 here. And that's actually a good thing, that you also acknowledge this is a poll with recalled vote Harris +6. So these people voted for Harris by 6 points, but still approve of Trump, which is kind of wild. And the young ones voted by Harris by 10 points here. And they still, what are they? They're underwater 9 points on Trump. But the next presidential election is in 2028. Would you like to see a Democrat socialist candidate win the 2028 presidency? 51% say yes, 32% say no. They don't care about conservatism. They say, well, socialism, how bad can it be? Everything else has failed me. And it's the women more than men by a lot, 54-28.
So let's stop right there for a bit. Women 18 to 29 voted 84% for Mamdani. And that's what's telling you. They're telling you, hey, this is what Mitchell's polling showing, Rich's polling's been showing, and a lot of other people's polling are showing it, but they're not telling you. They're not getting inside the numbers, as Rich calls his show on Rumble. Check it out. Mark's on, I think he's on Rumble, but he's bigger on YouTube. They both do a couple shows a week. Rich usually in the morning out here in the left coast. Mark in the evenings. But they go deep in depth into the numbers. And this is what polling does for you. It lets you know what people are thinking. So you can predict what's going to happen. You could predict what's happening in Mexico right now with the riots we showed you. And they want the corruption and the cartels. Even though they voted for Sheinbaum, they thought she was going to take it out. A tutti frutti San Francisco nut job. Now, I will question their judgment of doing this, but they thought she was going to come in and clean up the cartels and get them back onto a free market economy where they had some opportunity. They found out she's digging them into a worse hole with the cartels than they were before. Now they're pissed, just like Japan. Japan has been sliding sideways for 20 years, and especially the younger people are tired of it. That's why they totally reverse course and the socialists this and because Japan, although they're a freer country than China, let's say, they've been more on the socialist, genre, even when we bailed them out after World War II and stuff. Here's more from Mark.
And it's really the young ones, 18 to 24, 57 to 27. Now, the boomer argument would be, don't these people know history? No, you took it out of their schools and taught them gay stuff. That's it. I'm sorry.
There you go. You made imbeciles out of the kids. You told them everything was good. Everything they were doing was great. They're all superstars. Nothing they ever did was wrong. Now they're in the real world and they're going, oh, blank. Now they're adults and they're thinking, holy crap, I ain't going to get a job. HB1 visa, if I've got they told me to do STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. What? Somebody from India comes in and cuts the rate half the point. I don't. If I did get a job, they fired me. If they don't, I don't even get an interview. And then all the ones that got talked into Mongolian basket weaving and stuff degrees, they're working as baristas at Starbucks for 15, 20 bucks an hour. They're going, oh, and they got 100,000, I got 100 grand in college debt. How are they ever going to afford a home? You know, from 50 years, the average first time buyer was 29 years old. Now it's over 40. That has devastating consequences for us.
You can blame them for being stupid, sure. Not working hard, sure. But you did create this mess for them and dropped it in their laps. These people had no control over the America that they inherited. And now you're telling them to work harder to pay for your Medicaid. Like, come on, guys. You got to be less selfish. The minorities definitely like socialism, Hispanic and blacks. And, we're still inviting people into this country and trying to, worry about conservatism versus socialism. How about shut the doors? How about eject a whole lot of people if you care about conservatism? I don't even think JD Vance is really talking about, like getting rid of temporary work visas, because
this is what they say. Get them. We want opportunity. We want those jobs. We want those construction jobs. We want those engineering jobs. We want the job to be able to start a construction company and move on without having to break the law to do it. We will not have a strong private. We will not get private sector unions at only 2% of the employment if we keep up with the illegal immigration. They will not be working as United Auto Workers. They will not be doing anything. They will get even less percentage. And that's what they see. They don't see a future.
the Republican Party is a party of big government. This is what their donors want, the big business. They want the immigrants. They don't care. They don't care about socialism. In fact, the companies will probably do pretty well under socialism. Look at how they did under Biden. You're playing a losing game, Republicans. You're selling America down the river, and everybody knows it. They're watching you now. They understand this grift. They understand this grift. 82% of Democrats under 40 want socialism. This is the future of the Democrat Party. It is socialist. It is not Bill Clinton anymore. These people don't even know who that is.
And he's exactly right. The Democratic Party of Bill Clinton down to Sam Nunn, Jack Kennedy, that's gone. They are turning complete kook left. This Democratic Socialist America is nothing but the Communist Party. They got over 20, they got 4 of the 15 seats. They figured they're going to get 2 more in 26, they're going to get 2 in 28 in Los Angeles, and they will be in the majority of the council by 28. They just had this lady Wong or whatever just announced, and she might, I thought Karen Bass might be unbeatable, even though she tried to burn the place down with Gavin Newsom, like California. Heck, this lady might give her a run, and she's a Democrat Socialist of America. They are commies. They are for, you look at China, Russia, Venezuela, that's what the Democrats, Cuba, that's what the Democrat Socialists of America want for you. That's what Ma'am Danny says. And he's looking at it, sharp guy, like that, and they're seeing the opportunity. They're promising you everything. But what did Goebbels say and everyone else, Stalin? Don't worry about the old farts. Go after the youth. Promise them the world, suck them in, and then you know what happens next. This is a young lady who goes by the name of Laissez-Faire Lounge on Twitter. People need to see and hear, listen to them. Don't tell them, don't shout at them, don't tell them they're idiots. listen to them and maybe learn a little bit. Here we go.
Hey guys, okay, so my For You page is now filled with reels about Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. Yeah, can we um I all I want to say is like I don't know anymore what is going on, but I just want off this timeline. I want a timeline where I don't have to hear the names Trump, Clinton, Obama, Bush, Epstein, Prince Andrew, Putin, Netanyahu ever again. Also, I'm assuming they must be referring to like a portrait, right? Like the one of Bill Clinton in the blue dress.
So what she's telling you is we're done with all this stuff. We're done with the promises and we're going to do this. They want to hear results. They want to hear no HV1 visas, which is probably not necessarily where we should wind up, but we should greatly curtail them, just like the immigration, till we straighten things out. That's what they're saying. They want to see that you are getting gas prices, which we've done, but not in California or some of the bigger cities or metropolitan areas, or housing to come down. And that's not going to come down over mandammy or rent control. That everywhere that's been tried, that's failed. That violates every economic principle or every natural law or every recorded history that we've ever seen. Listen to them.
The US government shutdown, which lasted a record 44 days, has officially ended as
Let's see if it'll.
The US government shutdown, which lasted a record 44 days, has officially ended as of Wednesday. During this period, the national debt increased by $500 billion, bringing the total from $37.5 trillion to $38 trillion, and is on a path to adding about $1.8 trillion a year. I think it would be a factual and accurate statement at this point to say that the United States government, like most, if not all governments, is operated by individuals whose performance consistently fails to meet basic standards of competence and fiscal responsibility. That is my professional way of saying that they are all the L word.
She's very nice about it. And if you don't listen to this, what you're going to see, if you don't listen to her, you're going to see Mexico City in your city. What she said, look at the COVID con, and that started under Trump. We added 50, we added 2 trillion to the budget. We went from 4 to 6.5 trillion, a little over 4, in the average of a little over 4 in the previous 5 years to COVID, to over 6.5 during the 5 years from COVID to now. The COVID went away, we didn't stop the spending. That's what, and remember when Doge was going great in April, Trump was actually positive on right track, wrong track, or close, positive on his approval rating. People were, that's what this young lady said. It violates every common sense standard. And if you want to call them dumb and idiots and lazy and all this other stuff, she figured it out. She can look at it and know when she's getting fed a line of bull. And they know that. They see the results. They're living it. Don't yell at them. Listen. And come up with some solutions. Implement the solutions Trump talked about in the campaign. Started out in the first 3 or 4 months really good and has been backtracking already. First sign was the Doge. Second, he really went off the deep end after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, for whatever reason, all this is going, but hopefully with the release of the Epstein files and stuff and starting to look at more at these economics, and then hopefully with the budget, if we need Musk back in there and strengthen Doge up, we need to start cutting. You need to cut $1 trillion off next year's budget, minimum. And you would still be $1 trillion in debt. And then if you could do that and then hold the line on spending, eventually our income would catch up.
Got 30 seconds, Roy, and Dr. Kelly's already on the line.
You got it. Okay, as Sean said, we'll join the Mighty Met KMAT 1490 here in a few seconds, and we'll get into some of this and more with Dr. Kelly. And
here we go, 10 seconds.
Created for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the former Chilean band. Join your vast video audience in the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire on Rumble. All that, man, what a wild weekend. Finally, Trump is releasing the Epstein files. He should have done it 6 months ago. He can't turn back the clock. Hopefully we can put that, we need to see it, let everybody, transparency and all that, let the chips fall where they may. If there's pedos out there, I don't care who they are, I don't care if they're Prince Andrew or whoever, they need to be sitting behind bars. We need to provide opportunity. We need to give the young people hope, or you're going to see what's going down in Mexico City right now in your town. Don't yell at them. Don't call them stupid. Listen, they are telling you. We were sold a con and they ain't buying it. House explodes, cars driving into houses here in the IE. Guy sees a bunch of thugs coming in to smash and grab his jewelry store, and he pulls out his pistole. Too bad he didn't hit any of them. He needs a little time on the range. But as we usually do on a Monday, we have, as I've determined her, the supreme physician in all the world, expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to iNewsWire with Roy.
Hey, Roy. Always great to join you on a Monday.
Man, it's something else. I gotta believe, maybe. And I don't know. Well, I think Trump got off the tracks after the Doge and the Musk thing blew up. He especially went off the tracks, I believe you could put the point, when Charlie Kirk got assassinated. Maybe with him releasing the Epstein files and finally of looking a little bit. Now, I think he needs to put back together the deal with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey and stuff. And he needs to get back on track. That's what we elected him to do certain things. If you don't follow through, people will change on a dime. I think that's what the election showed us in that. What say you, Dr. Kelly?
Well, I agree with you 100%, Roy. There's nothing to be gained by fractionating the base, and certainly by fractionating people who have traditionally and historically been on your side, and that certainly includes people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Airing that sort of dispute in public does nobody any good, and it just gives the other side some fodder, to sort of churn the waters or chum the waters. So hopefully Trump will stop that. We saw a lot of that, you may recall, in his first term. I kind of thought we were beyond it. sorry to see it rear its ugly head. So hopefully he will let that die down. With regard to the Epstein files, I am, in lockstep with you. He should have done it a long time ago because he's allowed it to fester under the surface. And people, where there's a paucity of facts, people will create their own. And so people come to the conclusion, helped along by lots of churning by the Democrats, that, quote, Trump has something to hide. I don't think for a minute that he has something to hide. He certainly was at that island. He certainly had been friends in the past with Jeffrey Epstein. He certainly interacted with the guy on multiple occasions. But do I think that he, quote, has something to hide? Absolutely not. And I think, unfortunately, what he should have said from the beginning is, look, we absolutely need to expose all of this. The American people have a right to know, and we need to sort out who was there and interacted with this guy Epstein in the past, but didn't, breach any rules of conduct or any laws, and who actually did. Who are the bad players? Who are the pedophiles? Who are the perverts who we need to out? And unfortunately, there may be some moments of embarrassment for people as those, columns get sorted, but one way or another, it needs to be exposed.
1000%. And I saw some of the polling the Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen put out. Rich Ferris of Big Data Polls put out the same thing. And they've been warning, even during the election of 24, while Trump's come in 25, hey, you don't get the big head that the younger set that switched and voted for you and Hispanics and stuff were going conservative. They just wanted things fixed. They wanted to see a brighter future. You were talking about it. Now you've gotten off track. Now maybe they just put a proverbial, thump on your head a little bit, figuratively, saying, hey, wake up. Because like I said, I don't think what's going on down in Mexico right now, and what I'm afraid of is if we don't start showing the younger set that, yeah, we're going to fix this. We're going to have it where you can buy a home, where you have opportunity, where you can get a job that's going to allow you to have a family and raise, and have a nice car without paying for it for 15 years or a home for 50 years. They're gonna revolt. And I think they're just looking for someone who's going to fix it. They're not so much as aligned with Republican, Democrat, conservative. They're just going to go with whoever's going to tell them we're going to fix it. Dr. Kelly.
No, I agree with you. And for the longest time, Trump was saying that, and he was doing it. Look, let's face it, he's gotten a lot done in a relatively short period of time. We haven't even closed out the first year. He's ended God only knows how many wars. He's closed the border. He has, decreased the amount of illegal immigration down to a minuscule, dribble. And that's all awesome. There's no question that gas prices have come down. Grocery prices have come down. But he seems to have taken his foot off the gas while he focuses or gets distracted, perhaps, by other things. So he's got to get his eye back on the ball. I don't think for a minute that he's failing cognitively, despite what the left would have you believe. And I agree with you. I think we have an entire generation of voters who will pull the lever for whoever will get this fixed, whoever will make it so that they can afford to buy their first house before they're 45 years old.
Yeah. 40 is now the average first-time buyer is 40 years old. 30 years ago, it was 29. And this chart is, and I didn't even know this until I saw it this week, and it really blew me away. 30 years ago, 1993, percent of 12th graders saying they were most likely to choose to get married in the long run. 83% of girls, 76% of boys. Today, in 23, and that isn't even up to today. In 23, boys are 2% down from 76 to 74. Girls went from 83 to 61. And I think that's why they voted in New York City, 84%, 18 to 29, for Mamdani. They, especially women, girls, young teenagers, young women, they see no future. And they're going to whoever, they don't care what it is or who it is. They're just saying they're looking for somebody to fix it. And who tells them whether it's the right path or wrong, they're going to gravitate to that way, Dr. Kelly.
Well, they're incredibly impressionable is what they are, and not very well educated. You're quite right. They will go to whoever tells them that they are going to fix it, regardless of whether they will. I'll tell you where there's no future is Sharia law. There's a really lousy future for girls under Sharia law. And yet you've got tons of them, cheering it on the night of the election when it was clear that Madani was going to win. They're going, yay, for Sharia law. I'm thinking, oh, my Lord. They have no idea what they're talking about. And the most recent study that I found, or survey that I found absolutely appalling, was that 40% of young women between the ages, I think it was of 19 and 40, said that they would like to permanently leave the United States. 40% between 19 and 40 years old as women would like to leave the United States. I would love to know where it is they would like to go, because I will help them pack their bags so that they can learn this is the best country on the planet for women.
No, that was the one that first, when I saw that last week, that blew me away, because men in the same group were half that rate. But again, you can see with this statistic and that they see no future, and I don't think they think. And again, I agree with you. They have no idea that might be the worst. Be careful what you wish for. Chanting for girls, women chanting for Sharia law. I mean, if you get that, you're going to be you're not going to like the consequences. That's probably putting it mildly. But what they're seeing is they're seeing no future. They think, well, it's got to be better somewhere else because, we're not seeing results here. We vote for change, or they promise, or this or that. We've been lied to all the way through, and again, it's not 100% their fault. I mean, a lot of us in our generation precipitated this stuff or put them through that and promised them that and didn't make them do this sort of stuff in general or in a majority. And now we got something, but we should be, and they saw with Trump, they saw with Elon coming in with Doge and said, yeah, we're going to fix this and we're going to do that. And we're going to get rid of these HB1 visas. We're not going to throw you out of work. They saw an opportunity, and then they saw it just dissipate, and they're going like, WTF, Dr. Kelly.
Yeah, I think something that might really help a lot of these young Americans who are, for lack of a better term, confused, would be to have a real one-on-one conversation or have an opportunity to hear from people who emigrated from other countries. Over this past week, I had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time talking to a young woman, actually 33 years old, so not super young, very, very successful as a makeup person in Hollywood. And she's from Russia. She immigrated to the United States at the age of 12 out of abject poverty. And she speaks, beautiful English and is very well educated. But to hear her talk about her absolute, disdain for these young American women who are talking about how horrible the U.S. is, how much they want to go somewhere else, how much, they are thrilled that Madani was elected, how much they think that socialism is fabulous and the way to go, and they hope the United States becomes socialist. And she said to me, as someone who fled from abject poverty in a socialist communist country, she said, how anyone could wish that on this country is beyond me. She gets it. She understands what you and I were taught as children, but for, frankly, the last 30 or 40 years simply has not been taught in school. The people under the age of 40 do not know history. They may be under the age of 50. They do not know history. They do not understand what this country was founded upon and how unbelievably lucky you are to be here. Because that's what's going to keep people from voting the wrong way and doing these stupid things.
It's all about perspective. Yeah, you take somebody from Russia, Ukraine, Argentina, Venezuela, China, they come to America and they think they said heaven could not be better than this. But the young people that were here saw the opportunities like you or I had, or the generations of their parents or grandparents, and they don't see that. They have, and you're right, they don't have no idea what life is like in these other countries or the policies they're doing. But what they're seeing is somebody's telling them, I'm going to give you the opportunity your parents, your grandparents had, and they're grabbing onto it like most people would. And again, we've got to, and I've said, and I even think Marjorie Taylor Greene, she kind of, I think she shocked a lot of people saying, hey, I'm going to tone it down a little bit. And again, I don't think we should be yelling at them, telling them they're idiots or whatever. We need to listen to them a little bit more and take into effect and say, how are we going to fix this thing so you guys, you and everyone can have an opportunity to live the life we did, Dr. Kelly.
No, I agree, and I think but unfortunately, when you hear people, talking about it, it's in the same way, sort of hearing your parents try to tell you how lucky you were to have something. I think people tend to tune it out. I found it very compelling personally to hear this young woman talking about it and actually telling me the stories of her childhood because she actually lived it. Short of that, I don't know how we get people to understand. Frankly, there are many people, and I'm not sure I disagree, who say, awesome, Mandani now is the mayor of New York. They're going to get what they voted for. And they don't think it can't happen in the United States. Don't think that it cannot become Venezuela over a period of 3 or 4 years, because it can, and it will. And people are going to understand the entire tax base is going to leave. There's no reason, for example, that Fox News doesn't need to be in New York. Newsmax doesn't need to be in New York. They can be in Boca or Miami or Nashville. There's no reason that Wall Street has to be in New York. Those days are gone. Everything's done virtually. Wall Street could pick up and move to Kansas City. It doesn't matter. And New York is about to lose, truly, they're going to lose their entire tax base. It will be uninhabitable. You will not be able to go near a subway without risk of getting gunned down or stabbed or beheaded. This is not hyperbole. It is going to happen. And take a look at what happened to Detroit. Take a look at what's happened in places like London and Dublin. It has happened there, and it will happen in New York. And maybe New York needs to be the sacrificial lamb. Maybe we need to lose our once greatest city and have it become uninhabitable so that other cities that are thinking about voting that way, whether it's Chicago or Portland or Seattle or wherever else, maybe they will look and go, oh my God, I can't believe that is happening in the United States.
Well, they've already have. They all got Democratic Socialists. LA just went Democratic Socialists, and they already got over 25% of the council, and they think they're going to have the majority of it by 28. And that's why I say you want to see what's going on down in Mexico. That's what I'm afraid of. And like you say, they start crashing this thing like if they get these policies in effect in our major cities and they start crashing our major cities, then these people are going to be flooding out into the hinterlands per se, and they're going to be, starving to death. No, you think we got a vagrant problem now? They start crashing from Seattle to LA to New York City to Chicago. Holy Toledo. We're going to have a mess on our hands that is not going to, you can't even fathom. You think those ones you talked about in London and Venezuela, you won't see nothing yet if they crash. If we keep on this trajectory, my take is we better start turning this around now, Dr. Kelly.
I agree with you. As I said, I think this is really, really serious. They have infiltrated these progressive. They're beyond progressive. They are communist, socialist agenda. They are people, there's a bigger force here, a bigger world force, certainly, that has wanted this to happen in the United States for quite some time. We have not only China, Russia, but other forces that would like to see the United States brought to its knees. And this is how you do it. We have Trojan horses coming in from every side. Let's look what's going on. We've got people like AOC and the Bernie Bros in Washington who don't even hide what they think. You've got people like Ilhan Omar who are, sitting Congress people who have open and abject disdain for this country. They hate the United States, and they don't mind telling you. And they are sitting with one of the coveted votes in our Congress. So how do we get these people out of there, get this back on track, start teaching civics to our kids again so that they understand how fortunate they are and that this country is worth fighting for and, frankly, dying for?
Got a couple minutes left. Anything else our audience should know? Go.
Well, I'm watching very carefully what's going on with Maha, obviously, and although I'm very happy with some of the things that Bobby Kennedy's been successful in doing, including starting to clean up the food system and getting artificial dyes and artificial preservatives out, getting fluoride out, taking a good hard look at the vaccine program. I continue to see things that make my radar, kind of piques my radar, which is things like a constant focus on AI, on wearables, on technology. I do not look to those things, Roy, to fix our health problems. If we want to make America healthy again, the best thing we could do is get back to basics, which is real food, regular exercise, adequate sleep, stress mitigation, getting off the screen time, getting moving again, all of that. It's not going to be by a wearable, by some smartphone, or some AI-driven algorithm that's going to tell your doctor what to do. So I'm really on the fence on how I feel about some of the initiatives. Time will tell, but at this point, it looks a little bit to me like Bobby Kennedy, along with the rest of the HHS as leadership, are really picking winners and losers in the high-tech world and in the pharmaceutical world, rather than just focusing on the basics.
Great advice from the awesome doctor. We'll do this again soon, Dr. Kelly.
It sounds great. Thanks, Roy.
You got it. Dr. Kelly Victory, as we say, saying it only as she can. I want to get into this phenomenon. And, they're back to spraying with the jets and stuff of the crap in the air now that the shutdown is over, the Schumer shutdown. So I get, day breaking now. It's a little after 6 a.m. So, the sun's coming out, hardly a cloud in the sky. About 7 o'clock, here they go, two of them. You see all the chemtrails up there. Bright, sunshiny, looks good. Within an hour, the clouds come in. I mean, it's just full cloud. No rain, no nothing, but just poof. For about 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Till about 1 o'clock, and then they're about noon or so, they're starting to dissipate. By 1 o'clock, they're gone. Sun's back out again. I wish that's another thing we need to work on. Let's get rid of that. Whatever that crap they're spraying in the sky needs to go. We'll have to get into that deeper in the well, as they say. Hit some of the local stories. Corona man arrested after reports of attempted kidnapping of 2 teen girls. Delroy Sinclair is pictured in the mugshot supplied by Riverside County Sheriff's Department. That he attempted to kidnap 2 girls around the Temescal Valley area. They think there may be more victims, so if you know or hear or have any information, contact Riverside Sheriff's Department or any law enforcement agencies, and they will direct you in the right area. Temecula man arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, child endangerment, and assault by a public officer charges. Geraldo Rodriguez. Now, there have been some reports. Some reports are saying he was an ICE agent. Apparently, he stopped a teenager, pulled a badge and a gun, or that's the allegations in the report. We will definitely follow up on that. ICE and all law enforcement, there's always some rogue agents in there. Not all of them are perfect, but we'll flush out the bad ones. That doesn't mean they're all bad and evil like they're trying to be portrayed. That's just going to make us worse. Marietta cops say stop on a red, please. As you see the latest traffic accident, when you do not adhere to the red lights, so good advice from that. Vagrant arrested for murder of a woman in IE encampment. This was up in Victorville. 38-year-old man that was not identified was arrested. They call him transient. I think, at least in my book, the proper definition is vagrant, but we shall see that. But a 52-year-old woman who was also living in the encampments in and around that area was murdered in that, and he was arrested. Fontana goes all in for vagrants. The city purchased a motel to house them. You know, and Fontana was kind of turning the corner, getting rid of that, rep they had of that of being, a pretty rough town back in the day, back in the Kaiser Steel days and biker bar days. Throwing down and buying motels, and that's what the young people are getting pissed about. You're taking their money and enriching a few. You're taking their money, enriching a few, and taking their opportunity away. Murder charges dropped on a Mobile man accused of running over a pregnant teen. She was 16, I believe. He was 21. And the judge dropped the murder charges and held him on some other charges. We'll see if the DA refiles them. They could still do that. Our Mimi of the day talking about that. The COVID-19 was an inside jab. And that's a depiction of your arms as the towers that got hit on 9/11 and the jab as the planes flying into them. Go check that out on IE Newswire on that. Trump says release the Epstein files like we could. Finally, hopefully, we can put that to bed. Vaya caramba. The World Finals, NHRA out of Pomona, were canceled. I don't know why they did that, but just a sign of the times, I guess, of that. Yes, he does pee sitting down. Gavin Newsom. What a maroon. We'll get to hopefully a lot more of this tomorrow that we've got set up, but that's the end for today. Take it away, Sean.
All right, Roy. Yeah, I got some video, audio. It's pretty scary too. It's the. You ever heard of the ICA?
That doesn't ring a bell.
They were the predecessors of the IRA in Ireland. They just reformed in Ireland.
Nice.
Over the last couple months. The ICA. Yeah,
that's all we know. I mean, I lived through that whole IRA thing and that was.
Yeah, the Irish Citizens Army, it's called. That's what they. Boy, we're gonna see some shit going down over there, man. I swear to God.
I mean, it's gonna be here if we keep this stuff. If we don't start getting our act together, we're gonna see it here. And when it goes here, it's gonna be a lot uglier.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's 400 million freaking guns in the United States of America, more per capita than any freaking one. So if S hits the fan, it ain't going to be, people just out there rioting in the streets a little bit and they're going to tear gas them like they did down in Mexico.
Yeah. So, check that out. I'll send you that audio. I'll send you the audio. All right. Take it easy.
Got it.